Update your power carabiners. Update your power carabiners. Update.
Hello and welcome. In today's video, I'm not actually going to do any restoration work, but this is a little update. The B15 we'll start with, and while the chassis is fine and working nicely, the cabinet is proving to be a bit more of a challenge. Oops. I managed to clean up the dial glass, so that's looking really nice. But the lugs for the speakers have broken off. So there will be nothing holding the speaker in place as such. So I have to come up with a solution for that. I don't particularly want to glue the speaker to the cabinet, but that may be the last resort. I'm going to try some hot glue maybe on here. I think that might work. I do have the rest of the posts, they were in the bag, and 2 of the clips, but when I glued the clip back on, the post back together, it just wasn't strong enough. The back of the radio I've done some work on. I've glued this crack here, and I'll buy some, I think I might try fiberglass to fix this corner up here. Don't know whether you can see that on the camera. So with this big, I suppose it's a chip that is out of the corner of the case. I'm going to have to repaint this one and fix up this corner. This one is a Melodymaker or a, there was quite a number, or 3 different model numbers or names for these particular radios. The face has come up really nicely. I retrobrighted that a couple of weeks ago, but the case itself will need to be sanded back and refinished. Whoever did this last time, they made a particular mess of it. This Philips 172 I bought at the auction 2 weeks ago, a mini auction, the club, and it has a massive great crack from there right along around here, and another piece is broken off there, so that this chunk came out. It's probably being swamped out in the light, but this is coming along nicely. I've glued it and sanded it back, so this is quite smooth. Still got a few ridges in it. The case is not exactly flat on the top. It's sort of bowed and then bowed again, with the reinforcing is there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this chip missing here. I'd like to put that back, but I might just mould some the plastic JB Weld or whatever it is. It's made by the same company that makes JB Weld. On to the chassis. So this is the Melodymaker, and it's working very, very nicely. No problems with it there. like the AWA, it's quite a sensitive radio. So the last of the line, or the Philips line, so they obviously knew what they were doing. Let's untangle this aerial. This one, on the other hand, is proving to be a bit of a pain in the bottom. It's not working at all. Oh, it wasn't working when I bought it. This is the 172, by the way. And so the main electrolytics had been replaced very badly. Some very bad solders in here. So this had been badly repaired. Apparently it was working. I'd spoken to not the previous owner who was selling it, but the owner before that, and he said he recognised it and it was working, not that great, but working, and the case hadn't been sort of dropped. So the person who had it last has a lot to answer for. These electrolytics weren't exactly soldered in properly. I've added a little board there and replaced these two resistors to get it working. It did work at that stage, just a little bit. I could just hear it, and I could just hear an injected signal. I replaced all the paper caps and it improved a little bit. It's still very, very soft. There's hardly any volume in it at all. I've checked all the resistors, I've checked all the capacitors, my wiring, I've swapped all the valves from the other Melodymaker, and hasn't improved one iota. So I'm really stumped as to what's the problem with this one. And it's not unique as we first thought. There was an English version or a UK version, the B2G81U, B2G81U, and that was made in around about 1959, the same year as this one. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with this. The B2G81U is actually quite a different chassis. It is a phenolic board with the valves mounted to it, whereas this is a pressed steel or folded steel chassis. There's a guy who restored one. It's probably the same one that's on Radio Museum, judging by the colours. There was also a Fleetwood version, the 1201, but that was just a badge engineered Philips version. Okay, so that's where we're at. I think we'll make some more progress next week. I still don't have the dial string, which I ordered 8 weeks ago, and it still hasn't arrived from Sydney. It's still in transit, and it's been to 15 mail centres, so it'll eventually end up either here, which is unlikely at this stage, or it'll end up back at the place it was sent from, which is more likely. I don't know what's going on with it. Maybe the label is unreadable or something like that. Someone's handwritten the address label. But I mean, I could have gone to Sydney 100 times in this period and been back. So, and had the dials restrung. So I've got four radios or 5 radios waiting on the dial string. Okay, so until next time, I'll see you then. I'm just doing some research on this 172, and I know that the Braun was around at the same time, and I've just looked at them and they're very similar design, especially the UK model where it doesn't have these two knobs here. And it seems that the Braun design came out in 1955 and this came out in 1956 in Europe and the UK. So, and the Australian one here, the 172, came out in 1958 or 57 and continued on to 61. So it's interesting. I'm not sure I can't remember the actual size of the SK series radios. I think they were a little bit smaller than this. They certainly don't seem to have a transformer in them and things like that. So it's very suspicious, or just a common design that someone came up with at the time, and yeah. So, very interesting.
How much did that cost?
What?
That Kevin Dennis badge.
Oh, $1,900.
$1,900 for a badge?
Uh-huh. But he threw in a 71 Renault for free.
He threw in the car for free, but the badge cost you $1,900?
Uh-huh. And he gave me tons of help with the finance on the badge. Even took another car dealer's badge as a trade-in.
Go on.
And I had a bit of trouble with the badge when I first started wearing it.
I can imagine.
But like he said in that press conference, they have the Kevin Dennis buyer protection plan. They fixed the pin. It kept slipping. And said they'd even replace the entire badge if I liked. Just like buying a badge from a big department store.
Say, listen, how much would a badge cost on a 1970 Falcon in good condition?
Around $1,500.
That's expensive for a badge.
But very cheap for the car.